must learn.
All right, we're going. Hey, Antonio, thanks for coming on Judo Know Me, man. It's really great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I hope you nothing happened. You had to run out. You said it was pretty crazy at the supermarket.
Yeah, there were so many people. It was mega crowded. You can see them lining up from the basement floor up onto the first floor. This is in Shinjuku. I can't imagine what it's like in other parts of town. It's crazy with this pandemic, Our whole lives turned upside down.
Right? But so I was really curious. So Antonio and I kind of did a little acting gig before, and it was my first one, and he kind of guided me through kind of what to expect about being the gaijin freak show.
Yeah. I remember when we did that comedy thing.
Yeah.
With what was his name? Kanazuki. Yeah.
Kanazuki, yeah.
Kanazuki. One of the biggest Japanese comedians.
Right? And that was really cool. But yeah, I totally didn't know what to expect. And granted, thankfully, we had so much time waiting around, which I'm sure probably you do all the time in show business, that it was we got a good chance to kind of talk with Antoine and everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I like about these jobs, that you have some time to communicate with everyone else who's on set. You get to know other actors, other people who have the same interests as you. And most of the time, they're from different cultural backgrounds, different countries. You get to experience a lot of things, get to do a lot of cultural exchange just by going to your job. I think that's one of the best things in showbiz, actually.
Yeah. No, that was really cool. And we got to sit. I love sitting in the break room and eating those nice cookies. And I think Ringo-chan had all the candy. Candy in the break room. She gave everybody candy. I think that's why she won. Because
exactly.
She gave everybody candy.
She gave all the apple candy. She bribed everyone with apples. That Ringo.
That's why we lost.
Go ahead, I feel like Beyonce.
It wasn't because anything I did wrong. It was because of Ringo-chan bribed everybody.
Yeah, we were great. Actually, when I saw it later on TV, it was amazing. It was even better than our rehearsals, because we did 2 rehearsals before we actually had to do it at the show. Mm-hmm. And we did it better than any time before. And what kind of disappointed me was that they cut half of it. We did it 2 times, remember? The whole dance, the haka, yeah.
The haka. Yeah, we did we were pretending.
Did it 2 times, but they show it only once. That was kind of frustrating,
Well, I guess I see why. They probably try and streamline for TV, but the second time was way funnier than the first time, but...
True. Exactly.
But funny, Kanezuki-san kind of called me out. It's I thought it was really funny, but I'm really just... My Japanese isn't that good, especially the cultural references that they use. I don't know who the actors they're imitating. I just think his face is really funny. And I told him, oh, honto ni omoshiro katta. And he's like, oh, honto? Dono tokoro? And I was like, I couldn't. I just thought his face was really expressive. I don't know. I didn't know the people he was. I think I only know 2 of the people that I think he was imitating. And but he totally called me out on that. And I was like, I'm kind of glad we didn't win, because then they wouldn't put that part on.
Yeah.
But I was like, I liked all of it.
Zembu. Yeah, best answer. The most diplomatic way.
Zembu. I mean, usually in English, I try and put in the parts that I really like that I paid attention to. My Japanese is not that good.
No, you're great. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But yeah, Antonio. So Antonio, not only has he been doing acting, he also does translation, and thank God he does karate, because that's loosely relative to my show. So I get to have him on.
Yeah, I'm really happy for this invitation. I just want to say that now that I'm no black belt, I have a long experience of doing martial arts. I started when I was 15. doing Muay Thai, the Thai kickboxing for 4 years in high school.
Okay.
And then I switched to aikido because I had studied Japanese and I wanted to do a Japanese martial art next.
Okay.
And I was invited to interpret at a few of the seminars for a really famous Shihan and Sensei from Aikikai. Aikikai is one of the biggest aikido organizations.
And I'm sorry, this is when you're already in Japan?
No, this was before I came to Japan. I was still living in Bulgaria.
Oh wow. Okay, and you got the invitation. That's a big deal.
Yes, I was a student in university studying Japanese studies at the time.
Okay.
And
so you were already interested in Japanese studies when you kind of wanted to learn Japanese martial arts?
Oh, yes. That's what pushed me towards Japanese martial arts, actually. If I hadn't been interested into the culture or interested into Japanese language or the country known as Japan, I don't think I ever would have switched Muay Thai for Aikido and later on for Kyokushinkarate.
Okay. That's really interesting. Okay, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. You were in the middle of something. What were you saying?
No. I was just saying that, I started off with Muay Thai, but then later changed to Aikido because I thought that it was good to train and learn the name of the techniques because it's really hard to interpret at sports events and martial art events when you don't have profound knowledge of all the terminology used in that martial art.
True.
For example, in Aikido, they have Tenkan, they have Tenkai, they have Suwarewaza, they have Nikkyo lock. They have so many different types of locks and techniques, which you can always, get a list of and start studying as if it's a lesson. But the best way to do that is not by relying on textbooks or materials you can find online. The best way is to experience it through your own sweat, blood, and tears. So that's what drove me to actually go to the dojo and begin my training a few months before I was scheduled to interpret for Kobayashi Sensei. Yukimitsu Kobayashi is the name. He was the one who was invited to hold the seminar in Bulgaria. And that was my first interpreting for Aikido event.
Wow.
Later on, I had the opportunity to interpret for other Aikikai really well-known senseis, such as Hori Sensei. He's one of the biggest, most famous senseis in Osaka, again in Aikikai.
Oh, wow. I'm a big fan of that myself, of kind of what you said. I think the Japanese way of, it's not necessarily about being the biggest badass, but they just have really great way of teaching. Like they have a system, everything's labeled and named. That's what the thing really drew me into Japanese martial arts when I started with judo. And
yes.
And of course, there's many kind of different ways you can apply your technique and how you find it works for yourself. But I love that there's a base and a foundation that you can always go through. And you might think when you're a beginner, oh, I'm a little different. But I think the more you do it and the more you're into it and the more you've competed, oh, my teachers were right. and there is, like, they have thought of these things that I need to practice.
Yeah, true. It's really good, not just for learning the Japanese words or for the physical workout. It was it was also very good for developing a sense of spiritual notion. Like, it trains not only your body, it also trains your soul. That was the best thing about Japanese martial arts. I mean, we have some elements of that in Muay Thai as well. Like every martial art, it teaches you discipline, it teaches you respect towards the opponent. But in Japan, that's a whole new level.
Yeah,
the way how you greet your opponents and everything. Like, like boxing is great and kickboxing is great too. But they don't have this depth that Japanese martial arts have. And I was looking for something which was closer to Muay Thai, where there were a lot of striking techniques, and one which would be Japanese, original Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I decided to switch to Kyokushinkarate in the long run, because first I was asked to interpret for the top of the Kyokushinkan Federation, Hatsuo Royama and Hiroshige.
Mm-hmm.
They were the president and the vice president of the federation. And that was one thing to motivate me. The other thing was that, yeah, it was a striking martial art with a lot of striking techniques, just like Muay Thai. And I could develop this sense of Japanese spiritual, how should I say it, like experience.
Okay.
To learn not only just to defeat my opponent, but to respect my opponent while fighting him.
Okay.
You know, that's the biggest thing you can earn out of Japanese martial arts.
Yeah. Wow. I really think it's fascinating that you chose Kyokushinkarate, because not saying one is better than the other, but I always admire Kyokushinkarate because there's a lot of forms of martial arts that they might be good for certain applications, but they don't necessarily practice or they don't spar. And from what I know of Kyokushinkarate is they hit each other a lot.
Yes, it's one of the most brutal martial arts in the world, if not the most brutal. Because if you've seen some videos from the 60s or 70s, wow, those people, like, they beat the hell out of each other. And back then, first, there wasn't even this rule where you're not allowed to hit your opponent in the face with your fist. The original Kyokushin rules, they were extremely practical. You can use every weapon you have, almost every weapon you have in the full contact rules to defeat your opponent. And that means punching with bare hand, bare knuckles to the face.
Mm-hmm.
But since that turned out really bloody, and especially during training, many people got a lot of injuries. It wasn't very good for TV, so it was hard to promote it.
Yeah.
And that's why the founder of Kyokushinkarate, he decided, Masatatsu Oyama, he decided to make it a little bit more adapted towards TV audiences. So he introduced these full contact rules where you're not allowed to hit the opponent in the face with a punch or an elbow. You can kick or you can hit him with a knee in the face, but you cannot punch or do an elbow blow. So yeah, you can get a lot of damage out of Kyokushinkarate. But I mean, that's one of the best things about it, because you learn to be tough and to overcome whatever difficulties may come. You have to go through excruciating pain, and you have to develop a kind of body armor doing muscle training every week in order to be able to withstand the blows of your opponent. And it's not just about doing muscle training yourself. You also have to train being hit by your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So what we also often do, it's called uchiai. Like, for example, hara uchi.
Mm-hmm.
Hara is belly and uchi, hit.
Okay.
Yeah, we hit each other's stomachs with bare fists to train them. And when you know that it's coming, you can contract your muscles. You can harden them so that you can stop the blow. And if you can time it right to release all of the air you have in your lungs just as your opponent hits you, it doesn't hurt so much.
Mm-hmm.
And when you repeat this on and on and on, your body gets used to it, and you can take a lot of hits. You become really, really tough.
Well, I think the interesting thing I noticed, though, especially with bare fists, is not just for the person getting hit, but if you don't punch properly, you can hurt yourself. So I imagine you guys were actually training your form so you don't break your hand so much, right?
You win. Perfect. Exactly, yeah. When we practice the forms, Kyokushinkarate has a few types of training. First one is basic training, kihon geiko. When we stand still and we do all of our techniques
Okay, so Kihon
on
is
that
like
spot.
Kihon is like fundamental and Geiko is like practice, right?
Yes, exactly.
Go ahead.
Yes. And while doing these techniques, we don't move. We stand in place and we do different types of blocks, punches, for example, kicks, but we don't move. That's the basic concept of fundamental training. And the next step is the Ido Geiko. Ido Geiko is movement training, where you start to apply what you've learned into the fundamental training in movements. So you move back and forth while doing these same blocks and punches and kicks you are doing in the fundamental training. And there are different type of stances. For example, there's the Zenkutsudachi.
Forward?
Yeah, Zenkutsudachi is like this.
Okay.
So you have like 30% here. You have to align your weight. Most of your weight is centered forward, so it's 30-70%. Okay. And you have to move forward without changing your height. So your torso needs to stay at the same level while you move and you do the heads and the blocks.
So the Zen, that's forward, and Kutsu, is that like foot? Or
Kutsu is foot, yes, but Zen is not forward, it's whole.
Oh, whole. Okay.
Yeah.
And Dachi is stance.
Yeah, stance, exactly.
So
there are different types of forms, different types of stances. For example, like kumite dachi is when you fight. This is the kumite dachi.
Okay.
Or you have also my room is really small here, so I'm sorry I can't show you more.
Don't break anything.
Yeah. There's also the kokutsu dachi, where, let's just see if we can see this, which is like this.
Oh.
You see how your butt goes to the back?
Okay.
And most of the weight is on the back foot this time. It's not on the front one.
So
this is kokutsu.
What's ko? Is it ko like independent or like one-sided or?
No, ko is back.
Back. Okay.
Ushiro. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I really like.
There are different. Sorry.
I really like that concept. In fact, I think that would be applicable to any other martial arts. Like when I show wrestling, I think when you're talking about people from different distances, if you can break it up, this is for this level of contact and this is for this level of contact, I think the karate training concept would probably be a good way to teach other things. Now that I think I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because once you master the fundamental training, Kihon Geiko and Ido Geiko, your next step would be to use that into the form kata. You know, you have kata in different martial arts and karate too, where you have to move not only back or forward, you also move diagonally, you move sideways, and you do these really complicated movements.
So you're like in a three-dimensional plane. It's like three-dimensional. It's not just like
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to explain it. That's when you imagine that you're fighting against many opponents at the same time. So each movement has some kind of meaning to it. But often when you just look at it, you don't have the idea of what exactly that person is doing. That's why you need to go to the dojo and train, and your teacher tells you exactly which movement means what kind of thing. For example, maybe you've seen that when in Kyokushinkarate, a lot of people say os, they also do this.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually really practical. It's not just some kind of formality.
Okay.
It imagines that someone has grabbed you by the neck, grabbed your shirt, for example, and what you do is put both of your arms inside of his, and then you do like this, which breaks the hold.
Okay.
This is the meaning of us.
Oh, so it's a
The movement
visualization.
behind the words.
It's not.
Yes.
I always thought it was like an expression, like a big showing of combativeness. But it's really interesting to know there's a meaning behind that. So you're not starting the contact. You're getting your personal.
You're breaking. Yes, exactly. I don't think that there's a martial arts which implies that you have to start the contact, because all martial arts, share the same thing, that they're for self-defense. It's not about hurting people. It's about defending yourself and the ones you love. It's about protection. So I think that that's a base concept in everything. All martial arts the same in that way.
Nice. So I'd like to look at some of your footage. Would you like to? Which clip would you like to talk about first?
Now, which one? I leave it to you.
Okay. All right.
Whichever you like the best.
Okay. I'll do a screen share. Just take 2 seconds, and should be right here. Okay. All right. So you see the video?
Uh-huh.
All right. So this one, tell us about this one before I start it.
This is a video of my training for an action scene in the TV drama, special TV drama, 二つの祖国.
Okay.
二つの祖国 means two motherlands, and it was a special drama aired 1 year ago.
Okay.
I think it was on Nihon TV.
Nice.
If my memory was correct.
Let's check it out.
Yeah, please show it.
You can talk us through it, what's going on. It's actually a very interesting shoot. And this is just a practice. This isn't even just the show. This isn't the show.
Oh, yeah, this is the training. It's not the actual scene where we fight.
So what are you guys doing here?
This was training to see how hard I can hit. And the other guy reacts as if he's my partner, the other actor. Okay. Because, unlike actual kumite or sparring, when we do these action clips for a TV show, we can't exactly hit each other.
Right.
Or at least not too hard.
Okay.
So we play with the camera angle to see how it looks. It needs to look like you're hitting the guy hard.
Oh, so right there, he just did something with your arm. What did he do?
Yeah, I did that to emphasize on a big hit. Like, if you have an actual match and you have to fight your opponent, you would want to make that as small as possible. But they said that since this is the purpose of for TV, you have to open your hand a little bit more so that it can look like a big punch.
Ah, that's an interesting
And here
point.
we practice receiving the hit, getting hit. I don't actually get hit here, but it plays with the camera angle and the speed. Okay. So it looks as if you actually took the hit. Yeah, here you get punched and then you strike back.
Okay.
My partner in the actual drama was the super famous Japanese actor Oguri-shun, who played in Hanayori Dango and GTO. He's one of the most amazing Japanese male actors. And I don't know which was better, because I've been a big fan of his ever since childhood. I don't know if it was better getting to hit him or getting hit by him.
Oh,
they were both amazing experiences.
That sounds crazy, man.
Yeah, I never imagined I would ever be in an action scene with one of the actors I've adored ever since I was a kid.
Well, that's an amazing thing you're talking about, right? Because I know I've trained too. And like, when you're actually competing, the whole deal is not to show them what you're doing. And in TV, you have to do the exact opposite. You have to show. The audience has to see the violence, or not the violence, but the action.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
A really amazing contradiction. Because yeah, if you showed that, they would just move away. I mean, if somebody knew something. But I had that same issue when I was working like a little small college shoot, and I was like
Yeah.
coaching this little boxing scene, and the girl had never hit pads before, and she started feeling like empowered, like, yeah, I can do this, I can hit. And I was like, well, do one punch, make sure we can see it. But she's like, no, but it has to be real. I have to go fast. I have to make it look real. It's like, but she actually hit the other girl, and the other girl had never been hit before, you know,
Oh.
and so we had to take a little break, because if you haven't experienced that, I know anybody that's ever been hit before, you know, like, that's not good, but I'm not gonna die. But you have to like we had to take the time and be like, okay, you know, let's get some water, do what you need to do. Even though, you know, based on you or me, it's like I knew she just got a little pop, you know, a little pop in the cheek, and
Yeah.
but like, yeah, because we were all amateurs, you know, I had to like, you know, take your time, do what you need to do. And then I said, you know, make sure everything is clear. I'm sure that's more what it's like on TV. It's about clarity more than tactics, I would assume. I'm just guessing.
True, true. It has to look amazing. It has to look cool. Like, even if it's not effective at all, like if it's a real match, they would see you long before you do this, right?
Yeah.
Your opponent would see you and stop you just like this, and he can block it. But for the purposes TV, if you make this really big and they then put it on fast forward, it looks like this super amazing punch that hit the other guy. He wasn't able to evade it. And that's the magic of camera shootings.
Nice. Let's check out another thing. I really like this one video where you're in aikido. It's aikido, right?
Let me see which one.
Right here.
Oh, yes, yes.
So here, let's start at the beginning. So tell us what's happening here.
So this is a technique from the position suwariwaza, which is something you do when the opponent tries to grab both of your hands. You do this counter technique from a sitting position.
Okay.
And basically, what you have to do is draw him into submission with the nikyo lock. This is called nikyo. There are different locks in aikido, ikkyo, nikyo. This is nikyo. And now he shows how effective this technique is a few times before everyone can try it out for themselves. So he tries it on some of the most experienced sensei in Bulgaria. This was a seminar in Bulgaria in Plovdiv 2013.
Oh, this is in Bulgaria.
Then yeah. As a joke, he said, well, why don't you try it too? Because he knew that I was practicing a little bit too. And he did it a little bit more slowly for me. But basically, it's the same technique you just saw. So what he didn't know was that, yeah, he fixed my head. What he didn't know was that I did gymnastics when I was in primary school for 1 year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I guess that made me really flexible. I know that genes are involved as well, but if you can further enhance that by training, you can become so flexible that even looks like this, you can see he goes almost all the way.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody else is tapping out, but not you. The person watching is tapping out.
Yeah, I was. That's why he continued to make it many more times until I tapped. But I just let go of all of the air which was inside my lungs, and you can see in my hand it doesn't tap. It really doesn't hurt if you're relaxed and if you let go of all of the air inside your lungs.
I think it would hurt.
If you can breathe out.
That would hurt me.
Yeah, it depends on the person. For most people that doesn't work. But if you train that and do it many times,
yeah,
some of these submission holds won't have an effect on you.
Well, I think it's interesting, like it's demonstration and stuff like that, and obviously in a real conflict, we don't have the lines aren't drawn very clearly, so we don't know it's a fight until it's already a fight, and so Of course, if you were reacting, you could possibly get out of the arm lock before it was. There's a certain point where you can't get out, but that's the point. In real life, we don't expect to get wrist lock. We don't expect the person to know what they're doing. But usually, with a wrist lock, it's because you're doing something bad, and somebody's
Yeah.
you
Exactly. It's all, like someone, you often see some bad guy gets drunk, picks on a girl, he grabs her hand, tries to drag her with him. And that's one of the situations where maybe you can use one of the wrist lock techniques. It's for self-defense mainly.
Well, doing like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, some people do wrist locks, right? And it's always seen as a very dirty thing, right? And
Yeah.
like it's illegal in judo. You can't do wrist locks. You can break their arm, but you can't break their wrist, I guess. It's funny how each martial art discipline draws its own lines.
Yes. That's interesting. Everyone is unique and has its own rules, and you have to follow them.
Yeah. So, but like within Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like a lot of times people won't tap out from a wrist lock, but what they will do is expose their arm so you could get something else. But like some places, like judo makes it illegal, but oftentimes in judo, using a wrist lock, even though they don't tap out from it, it's a good way to get them to move, and then you do something else. But in judo, it's illegal. I'm sorry, Kodokan judo, it's illegal in competition, and so like a lot of the actual techniques that Kano kind of worked on, and there's different parts of judo. We want something kind of like before, like with Masoyama. We want something for TV. We want something that everybody can see and understand what happens. And so we have these rules. And it's so funny. There's always a bureaucracy that makes these decisions about what is acceptable procedures. And I think it's like somewhat limiting, but I think it's good because I think it encourages you to do more different martial arts and get different, because like you say, each different one, it's like a different spirit, like a different perspective in you. And I think that's really great that you brought that up.
True. I'm also happy that I had the opportunity to train 3 different martial arts and get the best out of them, because it really broadens your horizons and you get to understand the way that other people train. And even though they're quite different apart, they have similarities, and each one of them teaches you something valuable, which you never know where you can apply in the dojo or outside of it. In my case, I never thought that I'd be able to use what I learned in martial arts in acting, but it happened. It wasn't my goal from the start. That's how things turned out. There was an opportunity. I just decided to go for it, and I was rewarded. I got the role. So I think that people should try out as many things as they can. And there is no wasted knowledge. Everything you do is a small chunk of knowledge which builds up to what you are and who you are in the future.
Great. So let's just watch this last one. I think this is probably one of the most entertaining ones.
Sure.
Then we'll wrap it up.
It's a comedy TV show with V6, some really popular ex-boy band members in Japan.
Oh, really?
And this is the part where they show different types of foreigners who do something amazing. The whole title of this show is Amazipang. Amazing in Japan. Amazipang.
Okay. All right. So feel free to talk us through anything, or if you want to like tell us about it after it's over. You might just want to experience this, because this is really hilarious.
All right. I won't talk.
If you want to input anything, feel free.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. Applause. Bulgarian karate fighter in Japan. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is the guru guru batto.
And that's the dizzy. Well, you'll see. They'll see.
Dizzy fight, yeah. This is the first time, you know? I hit his hands deliberately.
Oh, you
First,
did that
I
on
do it
purpose?
without. Yeah. We thought it'd be interesting if I do that. The second time, okay, you see me destroy the bat, but I haven't done the dizzy part yet.
What is
Now
that? What is that you kicked? I couldn't quite make it out. I wasn't sure what it was.
It's a bat, a baseball bat.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Is this not the one where is this a different video? This isn't one where you get dizzy, is it?
Yeah. First I do the breaking of the bat without the dizzy part, and then I get dizzy and break it again.
Oh, okay. So that's a different video.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Oh, is it? Because I thought it stopped there.
Okay. There's a second part.
Okay, let's get the second part.
Actually, I don't know if I
know you sent it to me because I had it. I just thought that was the same one.
I think it's inside the link which you closed before we started the meeting. Because
all right,
there was 2 videos there.
All right, well, I guess we'll have to turn in next time to see that part.
Yeah, sure. No problem. To be continued.
Continue. Oh, yeah, I did close that, right? But that's okay. We don't want to share your personal information. I mean,
no problem. Prepare it for next time and send it to you.
Okay. Right on, Antonio. Well, that was like a really enriching conversation, man. I'm glad to know kind of what you're doing, and I really hope to hear more.
Yeah, I'm happy that you invited me to take part in the show. I was happy to talk about my experiences, and there's other things I'd like to share too, so looking forward to the next time.
Yeah, we want to see more about your acting roles and your martial arts, or just any funny stories you have.
Sure, awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.